Hello, I'm Jorge Molina.
And I'm Lorena Castillo,
We are immigration attorneys based in Dallas, Fort Worth.
offering services worldwide.
Today we have a special in honor of Thanksgiving that's around the corner, and we're going to be talking about modern day pilgrims. Okay, Lorena, so to give this conversation a little context, I think it would be wise to start with a little bit of history about the Pilgrims. Now, folks, I love history. This is one of my favorite subjects in the whole world. The Pilgrims have been one of the groups that I've read extensively and I'm very familiar with. And here's who they were. Okay, so the Pilgrims were a group of people or a religious sect that sought to be more pure in the way that they worship God. So one of the things that they wanted to do was to be able to interpret the Bible themselves, hold services themselves, and not rely in the institutional church. At this time, they were living, and again, this is during the 16th and 17th century, and they were living in England. And at that time, you had to be a member of the Church of England. If you were not only was it a religious violation, but it was also a political violation because you were going against the crown. The king or the queen was the head of the church. And as a matter of fact, they still are the head of the Church of England. So what happened is that because of their religious convictions, they started getting in trouble with authorities. So a lot of them were persecuted. And by persecution, I mean they were sought after by the crown and people loyal to the crown that wanted to exercise pressure on them to not have these sorts of activities. So after some time and experiencing a lot of hardship in England, they decided that they would be better off relocating to the Netherlands. At that time, the Netherlands was a rebel colony of Spain, and Spain and at the time the Dutch Republic were fighting for control of the territory. Now, Spain controlled what is modern day Belgium, but what is today considered the Netherlands was in essence a free republic. And one of the things that they have done there was that they established freedom of religion. Right, so they didn't force people to have one religion or another. You could exercise your religious beliefs as you saw fit. And so the colony or the Dutch Republic prospered. There was a lot of commerce from around the world, and that's where the Pilgrims ended up. Well, they made it there, and while they could worship freely, the issue that they faced was that they were, as many migrants often do, is that they had no connections and they were doing the most menial jobs that paid the least. They had a very tough existence. But after being in the Netherlands for about 10 years, they were afraid that their children were losing their own customs, and they were afraid of the corruptive effect that life in the Netherlands would have on the future generations. Additionally, they had the fear of Spain taking over the Dutch Republic again, so they opted to leave, and that's when the Pilgrims got into Mayflower, and after a long and treacherous voyage through the Atlantic, made it in Plymouth on December 1620, and that's where they settled, and their story begins in the New World. Now, Lorena, do you have any examples of groups that you would consider are somewhat similar to the Pilgrims nowadays?
Yeah, so pilgrims, they weren't really greeted or welcome when they came into the United States, but they found ways to find alliances and survive here in the United States. Similar to the pilgrims, there are certain groups that have fled their countries because of their religion or political views. An example are Venezuelans. The political and economic crisis in Venezuela has led to an influx of refugees leaving the country. Venezuela has experienced political turmoil marked by a power struggle between the government led by the president Nicolas Maduro and opposition forces. This has resulted in a breakdown of institutions, allegations of human rights and abuses, and worsening economic situations. Another example are Afghan women and activists. So after the Taliban seized control of Afghanistan, women, activists, and those who are working with the international organizations fled due to persecution fears. During these conflicts and under conservative interpretations of the Islamic law, Afghan women experienced varying levels of freedom. These both groups have fled their home countries due to their religion or political views, similar to those of the Pilgrims fleeing because of their religious views. But Jorge, I have a question for you. Do you think that the Pilgrims would win their asylum if they were to come to the United States now?
Okay, I really love that question because they wouldn't have that clear of a case to win. First, what the Pilgrims experimented in England could be interpreted as not being severe enough to account to become past persecution. So they would have to show that there's a reasonable fear of future persecution if they went back to England. So it really depends on who's representing them and what judge or court or appellate court is looking at the case. So that's the first thing. Additionally, the Pilgrims had lived in the Netherlands for 12 years. So we could also have, an objection to their asylum case because they had safe harbor in another country. So we would have to show that they could also not be safe in the Netherlands. Now, where in England, the persecution was based on religion and politics. In the Netherlands, we could potentially look at being persecuted or fear of future persecution based on nationality or origin, right? So it's not very clear. I think I would still make the case, but it would be a very difficult case to win. All right. Now, folks, if you like this video, please hit like, share, perhaps drop a comment, leave a question, suggest a topic. We'll love to hear from you. Again, I'm Jorge Molina.
And I'm Lorena Castillo.
Thank you for watching.